Hi, it's Writing Wednesday, and in looking back at last week's video, I feel like I might have been a little disingenuous when I talked about, running off to Starbucks with my laptop in hopes of fleeing distraction. In fact, that's what I called the video, which kind of implies that I'm always looking to avoid distraction so I can focus keenly on my work. But if you're a writer, you know the truth is sometimes exactly the opposite. Instead of fleeing distraction, I'm often actively looking for distractions to avoid doing the work I need to do. And I thought this week I'd talk a little bit about that. What are some of the things I do when I am trying to avoid the fact that I have a manuscript that needs to be edited? First of all, there is, of course, the good old internet. I can waste tons of time online, just like we all can, but by far my worst time waster and distraction is word games. And I am so grateful / annoyed at my friend Scott for introducing me to the game Words of Wonder. Remember that machine in The Princess Bride that sucks away life? I've just sucked away 1 year of your life. I'm pretty sure this game has sucked away at least 2 weeks of writing time this summer. There's something about playing it, you make the words, ooh, done. And then you see them explode and they pop and you get points. Wayne. Ooh. And I could do this all day. You probably couldn't watch me do it all day, though. I have to admit, this would be an extremely boring game to sit and watch someone else play. But then I never really understand the concept of watching other people play games anyway. I know there are entire channels on YouTube where people play video games and other people watch and are amused at it. Then again, there's the golf channel and all those poker games on TV. I don't really get the point of it all, but I can spend hours doing this. The other game that I waste tons of time with is doing the crosswork, the New York Times crossword app, which I have on my playbook. Every day I download the new crossword, I do it, and then I go back and do old ones. Just this morning, my crossword app stopped working. I cannot get it to load, despite repeatedly uninstalling and reinstalling it. And I can only assume this is a divine message from heaven. You should be spending less time on the crossword. Maybe once I get the book edited, the crossword app will miraculously start working again. In the meantime, I'm not sure how I'm going to cope. Then there's the whole interesting question of TV watching as a way of wasting time. Now, I'll admit, I'm not a big TV watcher. I'm not a person who would ever sit down in front of the TV with the remote and just click through the channels and watch whatever's on. To that end, we don't even have cable in our house. We get 2 local channels. The reception is terrible, so nobody in our house does that. What all of us are much more likely to do, particularly me, is get absorbed in a show and get on DVD or download every episode of every season and watch them all back to back. I tend to do that not so much by myself. Again, I don't get that absorbed in TV on my own, but if it's something Jason and I are watching together or something the whole family is watching together, like we are this summer with Community, which we're completely obsessed with, then that's the kind of thing that I will waste a lot of time. And I have to admit, there have been a lot of evenings this summer when I could have been getting some work done, but instead, I've been watching Community. I kind of feel like there are a lot of writers, and I do have to say this is a bit of a gender divide. I think there are a lot of women writers who claim that they throw themselves into housework as a distraction when they should be working on their writing. I think I can say fairly unequivocally that is something that I have never done. That's not to say that housework itself is something I've never done, although it might look like it from the state of my kitchen this morning, but to be fair, we did have a party here last night. No, what I mean is I never willingly go to housework as a way of distracting myself from writing. Now, there are certain things around the house that I will do and make excuses to do and seek out with pleasure to avoid writing. But the basic housework tasks like washing dishes and cleaning stuff up, no, I have never been in such a bad place in my writing that, say, scrubbing the toilet or even washing dishes seems like a good alternative. A good example of a household chore that I will do to distract myself from writing even if I don't have to is baking. Now, while cooking is a tiresome necessity that apparently we have to do if we want to keep everybody in the house alive, baking for me is a creative act, and I have been known to take time when I am supposed to have been writing or editing a manuscript to go, ooh, I could make chocolate chip cookies, or how about some coffee cake, or I could just whip up a batch of cinnamon buns. Then there's distractions outside the house. Apparently a lot of people are into this gardening thing and it takes up a lot of their time. My idea of gardening is basically you get a few nice looking plants from the garden center, you stick them in some hanging baskets or flower pots, you try to remember to water them. That's it. You've just seen me do all my gardening. So obviously that's not a big time waster for me. honestly, if I'm wasting time outside my house, I don't even want to call it wasting time, but if I'm distracting myself from writing outside the house on a sunny summer day, it's most likely to be right here in the hammock reading. And really, this is pretty much the most justifiable kind of distraction, because I really believe as a writer you have to read. Now, it may be that I've developed this belief to support the fact that I'm going to be doing it anyway. Kind of like people who are pursuing a spiritual life say that without spending adequate time in prayer or meditation, the inner well is empty and you can't keep giving and giving unless you fill it up. That's sort of the way I feel about reading as a writer. Unless you keep filling up that well of words with great stuff that other people have written, you're going to run out of your own. I've never tested this theory and I don't know if it's true, but I do know that the thing that most often distracts me from writing is reading other people's writing, but at the same time, I really believe that's the thing that supports my writing the most. So, what can you do?